In the last 5-6 years, they're averaging 47 seconds on a screen.
Always holding another device. Like, if you're watching something, I feel like everyone always has their phone next to them after.
Multitasking while you're tasking is the norm among young people.
You ever wake up, open your phone, and feel like you've already fallen behind? Your plate is overflowing before your eyes are even fully open. There's just too much to do and never enough time to do it. Side hustles, unread books, unfinished drafts, incomplete projects. A life you swore to yourself you'd begin living from tomorrow. But instead, you scroll again and again. You tell yourself it's a time issue, a discipline issue, a motivation issue, or maybe it's a focus issue. You scroll again and end up trying to search for answers. You come across the concept of the flow state. So you watch a few videos, hoping it's the silver bullet solution to achieving the life you want to lead. Each expert has their own method, a checklist, and a unique strategy to summon the flow state on demand, sometimes under 2 minutes. But none of them can answer one question for you. Why do you want flow? Not what flow is, not how to get into it, but why your life feels incomplete without it. And until you can answer this question, you won't be able to implement the idea of flow into your life, because you will end up making a critical mistake every time you try to enter the flow state. Let's understand an important distinction before we move ahead. Flow is not an action, it is a state. You cannot command it. You cannot grind your way into it. Just as you cannot force yourself to fall asleep, you cannot force yourself to enter flow. You can only build the conditions. And to build the right conditions, you have to know why you wish to seek flow. Philosophically, flow sits at a rich intersection where action and awareness converge, where instinct works alongside intellect, where the mind finds something it loses with every mindless scroll. It's no wonder that thinkers throughout time consider such absorption a cornerstone of human happiness. It grants us the taste of timelessness, selflessness, and mastery. To seek flow is to seek a micro-enlightenment in your everyday life, a reprieve from chaos and a union with what makes your life meaningful. So this video is not a how-to guide on entering the flow state. It's an invitation to understand the void that you hope it will fill in your life. Mihai Robert Csikszentmihalyi was a Hungarian-American psychologist. Aside from the fact that his name, let's be honest, is a bit of a flow challenge in itself, he coined the term flow to describe a state of complete immersion. It's when time blurs, your inner critic goes quiet, and you're fully locked into what you're doing. It's the programmer who forgets to eat, the surfer who becomes one with the wave, the pianist who loses track of time while practicing a single sonnet and they haven't checked their phone once. That's flow. But is it just a neat productivity boost? Or is there something much older, much deeper going on? To answer that, we need to travel back a few thousand years. In Taoism, there's a concept called Wu Wei, translated as effortless action or the paradoxical action of non-action. It's not laziness, it's flowing with the natural rhythm of things. Taoism puts forth the concept of the way. To define the way would be futile and goes against the idea of it entirely. It's something ephemeral, like the Force from Star Wars. One can tap into it and channel the state of being in harmony without the need to control it. Lao Tzu puts it best. That which offers no resistance overcomes the hardest substances. This phrase is deceptively simple, yet profoundly layered. At the surface, it evokes the image of water flowing over rocks. Water is soft, yielding, formless. But over time, it carves canyons, hollows out stone, and reshapes landscapes. What appears weak can prove most powerful, not by opposing force, but by flowing around it. In the context of flow, this quote reveals a core truth that effortlessness is not laziness. It's what happens when we stop clenching, stop overthinking, and allow ourselves to move with the natural rhythm of our task. It's alignment. When we try too hard, over control, or cling to outcomes, we create friction. But when we release the resistance, when we surrender to the moment, we unlock access to deeper creativity, intuition, and strength. Zhuangzi, written by another Taoist sage, Zhuangzhou, tells the story of Cook Ding, a butcher so skilled his knife never dulls. Cook Ding's mastery goes beyond mere technical proficiency. He understood the natural patterns and structures within ox meat, allowing him to cut and slice with ease and precision. After years of practice, he no longer needs to see the ox with his eyes. He simply moves. Perception and understanding have come to a stop, and spirit moves where it wants. The story is meant to illustrate that Ding is not acting because he wants to, but because it is what he ought to do. He just lets the Tao unfold through his actions. In being serene or passive, Ding allows for harmony of his actions with the Tao, cutting up the ox almost in a magical flow. Across the world, Aristotle described the highest human activities as autotelic, which means they're done for their own sake. In flow, the immersion of the activity itself is the reward, like playing music, or painting, or climbing a mountain with no summit in mind. Fast forward to the 20th century, and Csikszentmihalyi gave this ancient state a name: flow. He interviewed athletes, surgeons, artists, people at the top of their game. Across disciplines, they described the same experience: altered sense of time and perception, total absorption, ego dissolution, and a union between intention and action. You become the doing. You're not chasing anything. You're just immersed. And let's be honest, between loops of AI-generated TikTok slop, relentless Slack notifications, and non-stop news cycles bombarded your way, that kind of immersion is rare today, which is precisely why we crave it so deeply. Today, our prefrontal cortex is bombarded with distributed stimuli constantly, creating a state of constant chaotic psychic entropy. We fool ourselves by thinking we are good at multitasking. We might be good at switching tasks real quick, but we can't meaningfully multitask. But when in flow, your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for self-criticism, time tracking, and overthinking, goes silent. It's a proverbial slap in the face of distraction. This is called transient hypofrontality. It's why you lose sense of time and feel free. Meanwhile, dopamine levels rise. That's your brain saying, yes, more of this, please. So yes, there's neurochemical wizardry at play here, but it's the underlying feeling that matters more. It's like grace in motion, as if something greater is working through you deeply. Deep Work by Cal Newport owes its origins to the ancient philosophy of flow. He argues that in today's distraction-soaked world, deep focus is more than just productivity. It's sacred. He writes, what we choose to focus on and what we choose to ignore plays in defining the quality of our life. That's not just philosophy. That's a dare, hurled at you by life when your mind is foggy, your will is splintered, and your screen is static, barring one blinking cursor. It dares you to stop drifting and choose, to wrestle your attention back from the jaws of noise, to declare, in a world engineered for distraction, that you will go deep anyway. When you carve out time to write, code, paint, or build without interruption, you're not just getting things done, you're shaping your identity. And in a culture that glorifies multitasking, choosing to focus is almost rebellious. It's the new punk rock, radical presence. And for the creative types among us, flow is even more of an intense spiritual experience. In The War of Art, Stephen Pressfield describes flow as a sacred collaboration with something beyond the self. He personifies it and calls it the muse. And the muse doesn't entertain dabblers. She rewards devotion. When we sit down and work, we become like a magnetized rod that attracts iron filings. Ideas come, insights accrete, but only if you show up. So, why do we seek flow? Because flow is not one thing, it is many things expressed through the myriad of facets of who we are. The adventurous among us chase it at the edge of danger, clinging to cliff faces, free diving through silence, feeling the pulse of being alive as risk gives way to rhythm. For them, flow is found in the surrender to gravity, to wind, to speed. It is the moment the mountain becomes an extension of the body and fear becomes fuel. The creative types seek it in solitude, through brushes dipped in longing or sentences shaped in silence. To them, flow is communion with the ineffable, an intimacy with meaning itself. The page disappears, the piano becomes breath, and what remains is not effort, but emergence. The amorous find flow in the delicate choreography of desire, not just in sex, but in touch, gaze, scent, sensation, in the sacred art of dissolving the boundary between self and the other. Time bends, breath synchronizes, presence becomes transcendent. And for the disciplined, those who sculpt their focus with a monk-like rigor find flow in deep work. The software engineer who becomes the code, the physicist who becomes the equation, the philosopher who becomes the idea, and the athlete who becomes the sport. Their flow is quiet, exacting, ritualistic, a forge in which identity is not just expressed but mastered. We all seek flows in ways that mirror the facets of our being. Because in flow, we stop performing and start becoming. We cease to ask who we are, and we simply are. It silences the noise. It dissolves the ego, anchoring us to the present. But even more than that, it offers us a glimpse of something that feels essential, something philosophers across history have wrestled with: the longing for unity, for harmony between self and action. Martin Heidegger spoke of being in the world, the experience of truly inhabiting our lives, rather than standing outside them as distant observers. In moments of flow, we are no longer thinking about living, we simply are living. Jean-Paul Sartre, for all his existential angst, acknowledged that in moments of authentic action, we cease to feel fractured. We become one with the moment, fully engaged with the task at hand, without any self-deception. Even in Eastern traditions, flow is echoed in the idea of mindfulness. Zen Buddhism encourages shikantaza, just sitting, the practice of pure presence. Flow is not so different from that. In both, we let go of effortful striving and allow attention to settle naturally on what is. Flow isn't just about feeling good. It's about feeling aligned. It's a return to wholeness, to a self untouched by anxiety or fragmentation. Csikszentmihalyi called it a path to meaning, because when we are in flow, we are not spectators of our lives. We are participants. When you're in the flow, you let go of something that only returns when you exit the state of flow, the focus on achievements and outcomes. You trade those motives for the pure devotion of the process. So maybe we are not addicted to simply doing for the sake of doing. Maybe we are hungry to belong again, not to a place or a person, but to the present, to ourselves, to a moment that finally makes sense. If you've always struggled with finding yourself in the elusive state of flow, consider taking a step back and introspect. Why is it exactly that you crave flow? When you chase flow, are you running from something within you or reaching toward something beyond? Are you escaping discomfort, boredom, fear? Or are you being pulled by a vision, a calling, a moment of self that feels closer to truth? Reflect not just on what you do, but on why you do it and what it says about what you long for. When the moment ends and the stillness returns, do you feel emptied or do you feel more whole than when you began? Does the aftermath feel like a hangover or like clarity? Consider whether your flow leaves you with regret or with reverence. Deep down, is there a part of you, quiet, persistent, that's aching for less noise, less scattering, and even more meaningful immersion in what matters most? Have you noticed it when you're scrolling endlessly, multitasking, fragmented? What might change if you honored that quiet voice? What could your life look like if you followed it more often? These aren't exactly easy questions, but they are doorways. Because ultimately, flow isn't about doing more. It's about being more attuned, more honest, and more fully present in your own life. If this resonated, give it a like, maybe subscribe, and drop a comment. When was the last time you felt flow? This often leads to interesting discussions. Until next time, stay present, stay curious, and stay flowing.